World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to The Bold Show with me, your host, Marie Dunn. It's always a pleasure to be in this where we could create community, allow folks to come share their story. We all have so much in common. Oftentimes we don't realize that. But tonight, we're here to talk about that voice in our head. We're here to talk about those messages that we receive growing up. We're here to talk about how we create and we put on those invisible headphones that tells us what we believe of ourselves, what we were taught to believe of ourselves. I'm here to let you all know that we are not our past, and we have the power to change our story, to control our narrative. But we first have to acknowledge what it is that's going on with us and be willing to act after we've made that decision that we want to explore more of who we are. Oftentimes, it's from us that we get these messages, whether it's good or bad. But we all know growing up at times, especially for us Black folks, right, and Caribbean people, oftentimes we're already damaged. Oftentimes we're tarnished by what we've been told, right? So today I have a phenomenal guest. Yes, she is a woman of color, a woman that is doing hard work, a woman that is bold. She's audacious, taking these steps because she's who she is. And we'll hear about the power of storytelling tonight and how this woman has blossomed and she's taken off those cages and living her best life on her terms. Welcome, Janice Smith, to The Bold Show. Such a pleasure to have you here.
And I am so delighted to be here. And I want to thank you. And I would like to also thank the guests for taking the time to listen in and I guess be inspired.
Yes. I love that word. You know, The Bold Show, we're here to lift up those voices oftentimes that doesn't get heard. Because we live in a society where it's about what society perceive as who is successful.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these measures that we put people on pedestals. But coming from someone who has healed and someone who wanted to share a story and never really got that chance. So I created platforms where I could sit at the table and decide how I want my narratives to go. So here we are today. So we're going to dive right in.
Yes.
Tell us who you are.
Yes. What do you want me to start on? What do you want me to end?
All right. So you're going to have to start somewhere. So just give us like a quick overview.
I'll go with the flow, and if you can ask questions in between on
Yes,
who
yes,
I am.
yes.
Okay. So where do I begin? I will begin to talk by stating the land of my birth. I was born in the land on the island of St. Lucia, simply beautiful, and it is still beautiful. I am the fifth. Yes, I am the fifth of seven children. The first 7 years were the most joyous years of my life. I was born in St. Lucia, but I grew up in Barbados, lived with my aunt, who I thought was my mom, and basically my cousins, who I thought were my siblings. But I had a wonderful, the first 7 years, they were just fabulous. And I hold on to those memories. I am a proud mom of three, and I'm also a proud nana of three.
Congratulations.
I am married to the most selfless, consistent man I have ever met in my life. I cherish my husband. I migrated to the US 25 plus years ago, and it was to fulfill a childhood dream. Something that I would say my caregiver attempted to take away from me, but the determined little girl would not go to sleep. I can actually say the word rebellious. That rebellious little girl with that dream, would not go to sleep. At age 29, I said, I heard America, you get education for free. And guess what? I was gullible to believe it, and I'm glad I did. And I took off, not knowing anybody in America, left my three babies, literally babies, left my three babies in St. Lucia with family and father. And I took off to search for my dream, to begin my story for my family, for the next generation. Okay, now you might be wondering, well, where's mom in the picture? Where's your biological mother? Well, my biological mother, unfortunately, was a victim. And I say victim because I don't believe she ever became victorious and conquered, a survivor, healed from the domestic violence. So she jumped from one part into the next. So domestic violence, I would say, really took away our mother from us. And I say our because I feel that I speak right now. And this portion here, I speak for my siblings. That took away five of our mother from us. She migrated to the U.S. Virgin Islands. I never knew her, but I was determined. That was another dream that I had, a goal that I had, that I wanted to meet my mother before my mother passed away. I was the fifth. I was the baby of the five children that she left when she migrated to the U.S. Virgin Islands and did not come back. She was going back and forth, but I think that last trip, that was it for her. She's like, I'm not coming back here. She ran away from her abuser. I was a baby, I heard. And that's how I ended up in Barbados with my aunt, which is my mother's sister. My dream was fulfilled when my second child was born. I got my visa, and the first thing I did, I literally knelt down on the floor at the embassy when I got my visa. I had to go to Barbados. When when that visa was stamped, I remember kneeling down and said, thank you, God. I'm going to see my mother. I'm going to see who made me, where I came from, because that was a void that was just ripping at me. I had no peace with this thing, and I did not want her to die and talk to a grave. I wanted to meet her And I was so elated. It was very emotional, but I was so elated that that dream, oh my gosh, Marie, I wish you even knew that dream was just, I accomplished that dream, and I was hoping other my other siblings would get there, but unfortunately, just after I met her, the next time I saw her, she was dead. Yes, so I was able to see her. I was able to tell her I love her, and I truly mean that. Despite everything, I truly love the person that gave birth to me. Now, the caregiver that I had after my aunt, I came back to St. Lucia after age 7. The caregiver I had today, I can only say today I can say I appreciate her because now I'm able to have a different perspective. Not right now, but a few years ago. Years ago, I was able to look at things from a different perspective and really understand why she parented the way she parented me. Yes, Marie, now you see why I love parenting Jenny the way that I do. Not just from my biological mother side, but also from my caregiver side. The person that took me in when my mother did not show up as she promised to come and get me. And I ended up with her best friend's aunt. So from one person, basically from one part to the next, I ended up with this person that a stranger basically raised me from age 7 until I ran away from home at age 16. I couldn't bear it anymore. 16, I spent those years and I said, okay, I mean, is either I was going to, I never thought of killing myself, but that was not a thought. But I always prayed to die, which I did not really understand what it was. I was just a child praying every day to die, to not be here, to be in heaven, to come and go and meet. To actually, this was my prayer. Lord, I don't want to be here anymore. If this is what life is, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to come and meet you wherever you are. And I would go to sleep literally every night, one eyes closed, kind of like one eye open. And when I wake up, I refuse to open my eyes because I wanted to make sure that I was not on earth. Of course, I woke up and here I was still on earth. Every morning I would say, okay, God, we're gonna do this again, and I pray in the night. Lord, you didn't answer my prayer, but I'm gonna continue believing and praying because I knew about God. I believe in God. That's my faith keeps me going. So, so I would pray every night, and then finally at age 12, the prayer stopped. I said, okay, Lord, I don't want to go and come and meet you anymore because you're not answering this prayer. You know what?
You got frustrated with God.
Yeah, I did. I sure did. I got frustrated. I said, Lord, I don't want to come anymore. I want you to save my life. I want you to save me. I want you to keep me here. I want to make a difference in the life of one person. One, and actually, I specifically said a teenager, Marie. You see how I end up in social work?
So just hold your thought for a second. We have a listener viewer says, Zaji. She says, "I don't want to be here anymore." That resonates with me,
I
right?
saw that too. I saw that too.
I think for me, just listening to your story, the beginning of your story, and I love the way that you're taking us on this journey with you, right? At 7 years old and at 12 years old and at 16 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
We take so much for granted. But here you are. And then you talk about forgiveness. You talk about that fight in you because you wanted to see your mom and how that gave you so much. Uh, it's like you lived every moment
Yes.
because you really wanted to see this happen.
Yeah, it gave me life.
So I can't wait to hear and for us to share with folks who are watching us right now and for folks who will see this after to like really understand the power of forgiveness, the power of being committed to who you are, and the power that we all are so resilient. we bounce back. We just have to believe.
Yes, we can. We definitely can, because you're looking at a survivor, not I mean, of years of childhood. I'm talking about from 7 onwards, not under 7, 7 up. Um, Emotional, physical, and sexual abuse.
Okay.
So it's just trauma, trauma, years. It's just years, and then you're dealing with this, and then you're dealing with that. So it was just years of abuse. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's power in letting it go.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have to unload those baggages, whatever it is that's weighing us down. But Janice, I want you to jump right back into where we cut you off. But thank you so much for being an active participant with us tonight.
Yes. So I ended up in America. Of course, like I said, I was chasing my dream, my goal of proving my caregiver the self fulfilling prophecy she was statement she used to make. I tell you, I did not need a psychologist. I did not need anybody. I didn't even know I was doing psychology on my own self. I was counseling my own self. I was in therapy with my own self. I didn't even know that's what I was doing. It's only, as I got my education in America, I started to put things together, and I was like, wow, I did the right thing. So here I am from 7. All I'm hearing is you'll never amount to anything. I mean, some of the stuff is so evil. Sometimes it just hurts me to even repeat them. And it's like I pray that somebody don't understand what I say, because it's embedded in my head in Creole. It doesn't affect me anymore, but it's embedded in my head in Creole because she said it in Creole, and I didn't know what it meant until I remember when I realized what it meant, and I'm like, this is disgusting. And so I would hear stuff like, "You'll never amount to anything," and in Creole I would hear, "You'll take man just like your mother." It's just like, take man. First of all, I'm a little girl. I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know what that was. And I wasn't chasing anybody. Nobody was chasing me. I wasn't chasing anybody. First of all, I think I was too afraid for that anyway, even if I wanted to. I couldn't do that. You'll never amount to anything. You'll chase man just like your mother. And just the constant, you'll never be anybody, and just the constant put down. And this is what my little 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old self, this is how I survived. I survived by every time I heard a comment like that, I wouldn't dare say it in my, I couldn't let her hear me because she would kill me. But in my head, I would tell myself, that's where my the little rebellious girl, Janice, was fighting for Janice, the woman to be. I would say, I'll never, never do that. I'll show you. So I had this rebellious attitude that would just reverse the curse. I was just reversing everything she said. I would just say something else immediately, Marie. I would just, in my head, this little girl would just say, I'll show you. I literally would say, I'll show you. Just watch me. Just watch me. I will never be like my mother. Whatever my mother is, I am not my mother. I'll never be like my mother. I am Janice.
Wow.
You want me to pause? You want me to keep
No,
going?
no, just keep going, because I think that it's really powerful for us to provide context, right? So that when we dive deeper, folks will understand exactly where you're coming from.
Yes, yes, yes. So, having heard this all my, up until 16, and then the one thing that I had that was going for me, Marie, was school. Is my education. Oh Lord, I love learning. Oh my gosh. I used to just memorize my books before the school term even opened. That I would go to, that's why I was just a straight A student. I mean, work was just simple, easy for me. I had the potential to just go on to places and do things. And then in junior high school, age 12, one morning I got up to go to school, all dressed up, cook my food and my little carrier. Remember those little carriers? You carry your food to school. And I was just told, as I said goodbye, I was told, you're not going to school. So, I turned back and I looked at her and she said, and I thought it was just like, today you're not going to school. I had never heard that. So I turned back and I looked at it and it was like, you're not going to school again. This is what I was told. You have to, and that was said to me in Creole. You have to, I want to say it in Creole because there might be some Haitian person, a St. Lucian person, a Dominican person, somebody from from Dominica, not Dominican Republic, but Dominica, even Dominican Republic that may know Haitian, even French people. So she said to me, Maman acid bodai senkroy. I'll repeat it in English. Maman acid bodai senkroy. I pa sav sou ka viv, sou pa ka viv, ou kwe se mwen kay pwen nom pou soin. So basically what she told me was, she was constantly repeating that also, not that was the first time I heard it, and then it was constant. She said, your mother is sitting her ass in St. Croix. She don't know if you're alive, if you're dead. Do you think I'm going to be the one to go and take man to feed you? You have to start feeding yourself. So basically, this was my life when she stopped me from going to school. I would wake up in the morning. I would go to bed about 8 o'clock or so, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, she would wake me up, and I would be doing straw baskets and mats, and to go and sell in the market. So that was my life. So I had to now feed myself. I would go out into the countryside with the older ladies to go and get the big vines and the grass and the stuff to make the baskets and stuff. Yes, Marie, I can weave a nice basket. I can still do it. And a nice placemat. So yeah, that's how basically, so from 12 until I ran away at 16, I said, I can't take this anymore. I ran away, and that's what I did. I was feeding myself, literally. I was taking care of myself.
So we have Zaji. So she's been very interactive. I love this.
Yes.
Children, the cruel words of our parents are confounding until we grow up and realize what is us. I eventually realized I never wanted to be anything like my mother. I didn't want to be unkind like her. I know now that my need for constant approval came from never feeling good enough for her. Wow. My need to please came from never feeling as though anything right in her eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's exactly what we
I can relate.
Right?
And
the messaging that we get as kids growing up, it stays with us.
Yes.
Until we realize we need to reverse that. So Janice.
Yes. So here I was, I figure, okay, school is gone. Eventually the principal came looking for me. The principal of the junior high of this in St. Lucia, it's called, and I'm quite sure in Jamaica it's the same, is the secondary school. So the principal came looking for me, asking her, where's Janice? All of a sudden I just disappeared. So that day, she said, I think the next day or something, she said, tell me, get ready to go to school. I gotta tell you, Marie, I was just so rebellious at that point. I was just like, all I was thinking of, run away. I was plotting run away from age 12 to 16. It's a lot of years. I could not go back to school at that point. At that point, my head was just not in this. It was just too evil. It was just too crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. So I was staying away from school. Yes, go ahead.
And how long after you had stopped going to school before the principal reached out to figure out what was going on with you?
I would say a good 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
A while. It took a while. It took a while. I don't know if the teachers told him that did Janice leave? Did she go up to the city side? Did something happen to her? And he stopped by one day and I saw him. I was actually in the bushes because at that point, my life was so miserable. It was just, I was being tortured so much, from getting beaten naked. One time I jumped out a window because I thought I was going to die. I thought she was going to kill me for something stupid. And I jump out a window, maybe how many feet down to a story down. I jumped because I was just like stark naked. I didn't even care who. I jumped out the window, fell on my shin, blood running all over. I ran at the neighbor and just hid under their bed and begging them not to let me go. not to let me go back there. I mean, there were years of I did that, run to the neighbor's house, and the neighbors knew, and they would go and talk to her, and they tell her, "Just don't beat me like that," talk to me. And they were afraid. They were afraid for me. They were afraid of her, I guess, also. And there were countless nights I was so afraid to even be in the house and sleep inside the house. Guess what? I slept outside underneath a tree. Countless nights I slept under a tree. I mean, wondering if, at that time I believed in in nonsense. Well, actually, it's a reality. It's reality. I was really scared, thinking that some OB or somebody will come and get me. The dead would rise and pick me up. Some nonsense. But I slept many countless nights on the tree. Didn't eat at all for days.
So here we go with Zaji again. Those negative messages we receive from a parent can lead us to slight ourselves of life gifts. We're not brave enough to follow our dreams. We've been made to feel as though our dreams are not attainable by us. We are not worthy. I think this is a perfect segue because it's already looking at time. It's already 8:24, right? And we want to get into the meats and potatoes, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do a pivot now.
Yeah.
So during your childhood years, you really experience severe trauma,
Yes.
emotional trauma,
Hmm.
right? And you've been plotting your runaway, right? And
Yes.
you said at age 16, you decide, I've had it. Enough is enough. Talk to me about what happened when you turned 16, light bulbs went off and you're like, you gotta go. What happened with that mental shift?
The shift was is I'm either going to live or I'm going to die. At this point, I think I understood what death was. It's no longer just praying and asking God, when I want to come to heaven and meet you, and I don't want to be here. It was like, this is not the way somebody is supposed to live. I think I understood that clearly, despite in I was very naive, but yet there's just things that I just know it was not the way, because I didn't see the neighbor do that to her children, and she had a lot of children, and she didn't do that. So they would beat the children, but nothing like what I was going through. And when the neighbor sided with me to help me, she said, "I'll help you." So when the neighbor said, I'll help you leave. And I told her what I was going to do. And she had me go to her son's house, which was further away. And they allowed me to sleep there and put me on the bus. By then, Marie, I had connected with my biological siblings. I knew of my biological siblings, but especially my brother, who's now deceased. I knew about my brother. I knew where my brother lived. And unfortunately, though, I'm glad I ran away, but I jumped from the fire, from what they say, if you jump from the fire to the pot.
From the fire into the fire.
I jumped from one into the next. It was bad, but it wasn't as bad. So at least I had my brother. I know where my siblings were. Yeah, I did that. So it was just something that said, enough is enough. I got to run away from this before this woman kill me. That's just how I was feeling. And it's like, I didn't have a lot. I was living, but I was dead. I was dead, and I wanted to live. I just wanted to live. I was just too unhappy. I was petrified. I was petrified that at nights for years, the trauma, I couldn't even sleep. I was always being chased by her. Even when I came to America, I would wake up in cold sweat being chased by her. Because when I ran away from the country by her and I went to the city to find my siblings, her family came chasing after me. I was always looking over my shoulders and running. So it was just a continuous from one to the next. But at least I had my brother and my sister, and then my siblings' caregiver who stood up for me. Yeah.
So this is like so powerful, and I'm looking at a comment that Zaji made about, she didn't run away physically, but she ran away in her mind.
Mm.
That is really, really powerful. So all drama, this pain, this darkness, I'm curious to hear how you changed that.
Yes. I had to change my perception. As I got older, I realized that I was in a prison. I was in a prison that I did not want to be in anymore. I was in a horrible prison. I was in a cage, and I needed to stop what I was doing. I was burying my pain alive. If you bury something alive, guess what? It's still living. And it was time for me to put it to rest. Put it to rest. I call it, I had to face my music. And I also, so what I did was I had to, I realized that the pain was just too much to go on, that it came to the point where I had to acknowledge it. I had to acknowledge it because you know what? We can never subtract what we were born into or what we went through. We can't subtract it. It is part of us. We don't
Yes.
have, it's not us. We don't make it us. We can't make it us. I was making it me. That's why I was in prison. But when I decided that I was not going to make that me anymore, I was just like, freedom, liberation. I mean, like, give me the bullhorn. I want to tell everybody. I didn't care who think what. I could not talk about being abused sexually. That was just hard. But the moment I got that healing, I actually went to therapy when I came to America. I had years of therapy when I went to get my bachelor's in social work. I had to get therapy. So there was also therapy. But before the therapy, I started my own self work, which I did not really know what I was doing, but I was doing self work. I faced the music. I stopped burying the pain alive. This is what I did. I acknowledged it. I confronted it. There's just lots of pain and tears. But guess what? I resolved it and I put it to rest. And a lot of forgiveness, years of prayer and forgiveness. I had to forgive. I had to take a different perspective. And that's where I really realized that, you know what? She did not know how to parent. She must have been parent worse than the way she parented me. That's why her two biological children ran away. No, not ran away. They left when they became adults and never came back to St. Lucia. Never set foot in St. Lucia and took care of her. Never. So I had to get there. I also had to think of my mother, who was in a domestic violence situation. And also, possibly, she was treated the same way. I don't know. But that's how I had to forgive, to let go, and to start living.
Absolutely. That's great. Here we go, Zaji. Although I didn't run away physically, I ran away in my mind. It went inward. I was a heavy reader. I then began to write. I read sci fi, enjoying worlds I wanted to escape to, then began. She says, the change came for me in 2019 when I decided enough was enough. I realized I had to end it because she
Mhm.
would. So I let it go and let her go. I
Mhm.
decided to live my life as a free woman.
Yes.
Really, really powerful. And that's what resonates with me. And just like hearing you talk, because I think if you can come to terms with who you are, like
Mhm.
the our makeup, the entire being of us. I know it's hard when we go through these traumatic times, we think like we're praying for death to happen and we're like, why me? How am I going to get through this? But we are also resilient.
Yes.
And we all need a past in order to move forward. Our
Mhm.
past, good or bad,
Yes.
especially bad, they're lessons that we ought to learn from. And I love to say it's a test. And God puts us in a waiting room because he wants to see how we're going to respond. But
Mhm.
that's just my take on it. Because as
Yes.
someone who has healed, now I could share.
Exactly.
And I'm a free woman. I'm living my best life because I show up as my authentic self. Because we are what we believe. So, Janice, you talk about your amazing. Yes, Saji, the power of forgiveness. But we have to forgive ourselves first.
Absolutely. It's always self
That's
first.
where it starts. It
Mhm.
starts with self. Because
Self first.
talk about your aunt telling you that you're no good, you're not going to amount to nothing, and you're just going
No,
to be
no,
like,
not my
mom,
aunt, my caregiver.
your aunt,
My
sorry,
caregiver. Mhm.
telling you all of that. Like you started internalizing it and you started almost believing what she's telling you.
I reversed that curse. You
You
kidding me?
understand? Again, that's the power of our mind. We can
Yes.
do that. So talk to me about, after all of that trauma, and getting like your husband, you talked about him.
My
How did
happy.
you learn to love after so much trauma?
Say that again.
I said, how did you learn to love after all that trauma
Oh well,
and trust,
listen.
love and trust? Yeah.
No, now
Yeah.
this husband, but
Okay.
I had to learn to love me. It took a long time for me to love me. I could not love. I wasn't. I don't think I was loving. I would tell. I don't think I was. I loved people. I don't think I loved people then. I ended up in relationships. Of course, you're searching for that, what you were missing, what you did not get, the nurturing and everything else in all the wrong places. Got married very early, very young, and just a lot of stuff like that. And I must admit, it's like I owe my last daughter. I owe her. I had to apologize to her father. I am sorry for what I did, but I don't think he understood my trauma. He just couldn't understand that that's why I was with him. I don't think I was with him. And my daughter knows that, so I can say that. I was not with him because of the way that I'm with my husband now. It was just, it was the need, it was the support, it was the help. And it's not how I want to portray myself, but that's what I did. I'm not ashamed of it. Am I proud of it? No. That was the hurt Janice, the sick Janice, the child looking for that mama's love, daddy's love, and everybody's love, and looking for it, you know. So I did not know how to love. One, I went on the journey of self-love. That's how this man I have here right now, I can tell you, like, he knows I'm like a mama hen, just loving on him, just appreciating every breath, every second that I have with him. I know what love is now because I know that I could not, Marie, I just could not give what I did not have. How can I give someone love? And first of all, they themselves may have their own trauma. How can I give what I don't have? That's why somewhere in my notes, when preparing for this, I have that you have to be selfish.
Yes.
You have to be selfish. I think that's where the question is like, what can I leave with viewers?
Yeah.
One of the first things is you have to be selfish. And I'm not saying selfish in a bad way. Selfish isn't that you got to go and learn those things for yourself and give it to yourself first before you go and give it to you can't give it to your child. You're not loving your child. You think you're loving your child or your children or your spouse or your friends when you don't even love yourself. So I had to do self-love. You kidding me? Self-love first so I can now know how to love and also ask my children for forgiveness because I was beginning that cycle.
Beautiful, beautiful. As you said, I lived for love. So in everything I did, I loved fiercely with passion. I refused to love meekly. I had to love strong, powerful, and all encompassing. I refused to be anything but love. So showed up in all relationships the way I needed from my mother. And that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like breaking that cycle. But
Yes.
Janice, I think we heard how it all started and we heard. So now, this healed, powerful woman that you are, and that's impacting lives. And this is why I decided to title tonight, The Power of Storytelling. We
Hmm.
don't understand how much we can heal from
Oh
sharing
yes.
stories, even if it means that we are meeting with a licensed clinician, someone that we could sit, but it's a matter of telling your story.
Hmm. Hmm.
Load. So, Janice, talk to me about now standing in a room with people, others to heal in a therapeutic setting that you create. How and why do you intend to continue this story? Because it's a part of your journey.
Yes, oh, absolutely. I have to. I will continue it. It has to be continued because in reality, that's one of my. I think don't believe in just one purpose, but that's one of my life purposes, and it's being able to share my truth, and no longer do I have to feel that ashamed about my past. First of all, I was a child. I wasn't responsible for any of that crap that happened to me. Absolutely none of it. That's how I used to think. But I absolutely has given I give that crap back to all the to the individuals, the molester, Miss Iris, that I give her that crap. That's not mine. So I'm not taking that. I'm not keeping that. That's theirs. I know they're dead, but that's theirs. Um, it. I'm not alone. I have to sell my story because others will not just understand, but others will relate and others will say, "You kidding me? I thought I went through stuff. She did. She went through what? If she could go through this and make it through to this side, then guess what? I got it within me too, because it all comes from within. It comes from within. When you sit down in a therapist's chair, you're telling them your story. They're asking you your story. And then they're questioning you. That's it. They're questioning you to help you take a different perspective and to look at things from a different light. Okay, so have you even thought of? I did that on my own. I didn't, no one told me that. You ever thought of how she may have been raised? I remember the day I got that epiphany. I was just like, whoa, yeah. That's why her children never came back. One in French Guiana, one in England. And they never, ever, ever came back. They left as adults and that was it. So people will understand, people can relate, people will get the feeling that I'm not alone. I thought I was alone. I have nothing to hide. I'm not ashamed. You kidding me? I'm out that cage. That's gone. It's my story, but it's not me. People will be able to see that. It will help us make sense of our past. It says past, but guess what? I am so sorry. If we don't take care of our past, we don't have a future. We don't have a future. We think we're moving forward, but we're not. We're still in that past cage wherever we are. So it helps us make a sense of our experiences and see them from a different light. And we will get to see the positives in it. There's a lot of positives in it. Listen, Marie, today I can say I don't regret my childhood. And I remember one time my professor said, "You sure are healed." I don't regret my childhood because you know what? I love me so much. And I love that fearless, bullheaded, risk taker, encourager, self confident, determined woman. And I can go on forever with my I can attitude. I don't want to change that. I don't want to change that for anything. So guess what? If it wasn't for that childhood and all this trauma, I don't think I would it would have been this. No.
That is powerful.
No.
That is just so powerful. Zaji says, as a writer, that is what healed me to write the worlds I wanted to see. I birthed stories through my spiritual womb. Some came from painful and
Bloody.
that's powerful because, like you said, and I keep saying that we are not our past and we are not responsible for people's bad behaviors towards us.
No.
Right? And a lot of times we hold on to this shame, to this guilt, and we carry it. And it tends to be such a burden that we cannot show up in spaces as who we want to.
Exactly.
Once we let go and release ourselves, then we can start excelling. Like you have such an energy about you. You're so excited when you're talking. I feel that positive energy radiating, right? So can you help our viewers or someone who may be going through a really difficult situation and they can't see this light? What would you say to them?
This is what I would say. You didn't do anything wrong to deserve whatever it is that happened to you. Period. And I have to be very blunt here. One of the things that I tell when I conduct parenting journey workshops, I remember telling the parents, even if you walk with you were butt naked and your vagina was hanging out as a child, nobody have the right to touch you. Period. That's it. And as an adult too, no one has the right to touch you. Nobody. So You are not at fault for whatever it is that happened to you. You did not do anything wrong. And if that's what's in your head, you got to work on taking that thing out your head, because that was killing me. And I needed to get that out of my head because I thought it was me. Oh, my mom got me out of, was married, got me out of wedlock while she was trying to leave her husband, and that's how was conceived. So the curse and blah blah blah. No, the bunch of nonsense I was telling myself. Just the ugly stories that I had to ask. Is it true? Who tell you that's true? What are you talking about? So start asking yourself, is it really true? And also, the other thing that I would say, you were a child. And like I said before, the adults in your life are the ones that's responsible for whatever happened to you. It's not you. It's definitely not you. So why you want to take it on? I took it on, and it really almost destroyed me. So if you continue on with it, it's going to destroy you. And the other thing that I have to say, sometimes one of the things that we do, we love to say we were not meant to be here because we were told that, and we believe that crap. No, I was placed here for purpose. I was loved by my creator. I was placed here on purpose, and I step and walk in my purpose. And nobody going to tell me anything different. And I'm not going to believe, I don't care what anyone say to me. I mean, Jesus Christ come down in front of me right now, who is my father. I will believe, not even believe Jesus telling me, no, I was placed here on purpose. I was placed here on purpose, Marie. And don't let me repeat it anymore.
I won't put you through that. But something that you said is so powerful just now. It's it's that inner dialogue that's in our head. Like I like to call her the negative Nancy. Sometimes we have to shut that bitch up in our head and change that dialogue, because she comes at you and she picks at you and she will talk you out of something so good. But we have to reverse that inner dialogue. We have to silence that voice that's within our heads telling us that we're not good enough. But we are good enough.
Mm-hmm.
We were made by the Creator. And like I said, we're here today. He didn't us. He gave us life, the gift of life. So why should we give up on ourselves? Zaji says, what worked for me was taking many moments of stillness, silence, and solitude. I went within and faced myself. Me, myself, and I alone to ponder in existence. And that's so beautiful. Janice, you've been about parent journey. Let's talk to our viewers about what that concept is.
So the concept of parenting journey is basically we look at ourselves, right? We were born into a family, parents. Those parents were born into some other parents, our grandparents, great grandparents, and it goes on. The way we were parented, whether we realize it or not, consciously, unconsciously, we are parenting the same way we were parented. Now, the only way we can start making changes is to be conscious of it. Face your it, whatever that it is. I know what my its were and the trauma. Unless I face that, I was repeating the same cycle with my children, beating my children. I was not calling them, when it comes to saying mean things and belittling them, that turned me off. So I never did that. But when it came to physical, I would every little thing I would beat the kids, whether it's a smack on with my hand. It was just quick hits, and always yelling, because that's all I got. I was just yelled at. And so I was always yelling until when I cut that off and I put my kids at the table and apologized to them. So if we don't take that steps, what we're doing, not because we want to do it, but we are unconsciously, we are basically repeating the pattern. We are parenting the way that we were parented. We are loving the way that we were not even loved. Every topic you can think of, we are doing it just as we saw it, or we endured it, we observe it. It's basically the same cycle that we are repeating when that's not what we want to do. How many of us have said, oh, I'm never going to do that, what my mother did? And guess what? You find yourself doing it and you're like, oh my gosh, I sound just like my mother, or I'm doing this just like my mother. and you catch yourself and you're like, why am I? That's basically what it is. So parenting journey basically it gets you to the place where I call it, you take that beautiful cake and it's the icing on the cake. So now you have to cut the cake. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's delicious, but it's very painful. But the end result is freedom. It's freedom. It's freedom. It's just you can live and be you, no longer in that prison of abuse and the trauma and everything else that you endured.
Thank you so much. Matt says, thank you for sharing your story. Inspiration to
You're welcome, Matt.
And now I understand your boldness and how audacious you are. You're just jumping and okay with it.
Hmm.
You just made a real pivot in your life. You're
Yes.
corporate, and now you're on your own journey. Talk to us a little bit about that before we go.
Say that again.
I
Sorry.
said, I said you pivoted, you jumped. So
Yes.
you're corporate America, and now you're on this journey.
Yes. Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Sometimes something drastic has to happen in our life that will wake us up. Even if inside you're constantly saying, "This is what I know I'm meant to do. I can do this. I need to go and do this." That I still have my little things that I'm still working on. If you were to ask me what are the things about me that I don't like, is the perfectionism in me is still there. And I'm working on it. It's still there. And because of that, I end up procrastinating, and you don't want to wait until something drastic happened in your life. For me, it was like the loss of my sister. I have a few sisters, but my beloved sister, that's
Yeah.
one my heart. She was just taken from me, like taken from us like that. Just shocked me. The world, my world in June, May, June, June. I think it's somewhere around June, July. And on my way to the airport, well, it's in Canada. On my way to the airport, I said, I don't know how much longer I have here. This is not how I want to live here. I talk about legacy. That's not how I want it to end for me. I gotta do this now. I gotta get going now. I was already in a situation where the job was not. Yeah, but that woke me up, and I said, got some savings going on here. I'm jumping, and with my beloved husband's support, of course, I said, I'm jumping. I got to go and do this. I got to write that book. It's there. The title is everything. It's there. I just got to get it out and sit down and just write that book, get that out. The self help. The way I got help. There may not be somebody else, but it may inspire somebody to go that route. Basically, it's time to flip it. It's the name of my book. Flip it. It's time to flip it. It's just time to do that. So that's what I told myself. I said, you can't be telling people flip it and you're not flipping. It's time. It's time to flip it.
It's time to
So,
flip and flip
yes,
it.
that's where I am. I decided it's time to flip it, and it's time to get out there into the world and to um I had to write that down because I know I would end up. Where is it? I had to write it down so I can say it to you. The author, self-help book, and then a memoir. And unapologetically, unashamedly, authentically serving parents, caregivers who experience childhood abuse and domestic violence as adults. Okay? So that's where I am. That's what I'm doing right now. That's my focus right now. That is my legacy. My legacy is not when I leave, LEAVE. My legacy is what I am living, LIVING is what I'm living right now. That's my legacy, which I put in one sentence, and the legacy is it's I had to write it down, Murray, because I know I wanted to make sure I say it.
So while you look for that legacy, right? Zaji says, continue to exude strength, Janice. And Janice, while, like this was very powerful and we're so grateful. I'm so grateful to have you in this space to have dialogue because a lot of folks are struggling.
Yes.
A lot of folks are walking around with the burden of their past that's weighing them down,
Hmm.
not allowing them to shine and be the light that we were meant to be. So I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for all you have in store for us.
I think I left it on the other side. But
That's
anyway, that's it. I want to get out there and run groups, facilitate groups, and really just get parents, caregivers to get to the other side. That's why the name of my organization, my business is Crossover Services. It's time to cross over, get to the other side. Yeah, get to the other side of fulfillment and peace and love, self love.
love, light,
Yeah,
peace,
it's
and
time to
all that
get there.
stuff.
It's time to get there.
Janice,
So you can pass that on to generations to come.
love it, Janice. It was such a pleasure. What are your final words that you would like to leave with the listeners tonight?
You know, it's a little bit of what I said before,
Yeah,
but your what you were born into or what you lived as a child, it will always be a part of you, but it's not you. You have the power to rewrite your story, your narrative, whatever you want to call it. You have the power to rewrite it. You have the power to step into you and be you. And and like me, I love heels because when I put on heels, nobody telling me I'm not powerful. So use whatever that is. Face your it. I had to face my it. I had to acknowledge my its. I had to put them out there, face them, acknowledge them, deal with them, and then put them to rest. You cannot bury it alive. Can't bury them alive. And it's time to go and flip it.
love that. Yes, yes. Thank you, Jen. Yes, false sense of perfection is a myth. We need to strive to be our best selves, better that woman than we were yesterday, and that's so powerful. Janice, it was such a pleasure to have you in this space, your trauma, to share your beautiful, glowing story, to see the lights in your eyes, in your face. As you continue this journey, I wish you nothing but love, peace, and an abundance of happiness because you
Thank you.
deserve it. You are deserving of it. And to all the viewers out there tonight, I want to let you understand, to set it, you are not your past.
Mm-mm.
And you can make that difference. Be the change you want to see in this world. And with that, happy holidays. If you celebrate Thanksgiving,
Yes.
all the best. And you go out there and you be awesome. I'm looking for that book. Flip it.
Yes.
Everyone.
You might be publishing it. So
That's okay. We'll talk. Good night.
good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.